Hello and welcome to another week of dinners. I'm Rachel and I have 7 meals to share with you that we made at home this week. We're starting our week on Sunday, and to get started, I am cooking up this huge pack of ground beef. On this day, I was making some freezer meals, so I am cooking up more meat and chopping up more onions and peppers than is needed for this meal, but that's because I was also cooking other meals at the same time. So I have my onions and peppers already chopped up, and I'm just going to get this meat seasoned up with some house seasoning and then get it cooked up and drained. I'm also boiling up some elbow macaroni because I'm making goulash. While I'm working on other meals and whatnot in my kitchen, I usually like to have something pretty easy or like a one dish wonder going on for that day's dinner. So I just added my tomato sauce and a can of water to some onions, peppers, and ground beef. And we don't like a lot of tomato in our goulash, and so I just usually do a can of tomato sauce and a can of petite diced tomatoes, as well as a can of water. And sometimes I will add beef broth as well, just to kind of give it a nice sauce, but not have it be too tomatoey. But I didn't have any beef broth, so I'm just using extra water. And then I had a little bit of pizza sauce in my fridge that I wanted to use up. And so this goulash had lots of flavor happening here. And since we like it spicy, I added some crushed red pepper flakes and I added a pinch of marjoram. Then I just gave it a few stirs to get everything all mixed together, and that's pretty much all you have to do. Now, to me, goulash tastes better after it sits a while and simmers, but I can never wait. So here I am adding my favorite ingredient, which is black pepper, to my bowl, and I'm just going to stir that in and hide my obsession a little bit. And this was my dinner for Sunday. All of the guys were out at this time, so I was eating dinner by myself and finishing up my cooking projects like freezer meals and lunch prep. So that just gave me a little bit of time before everybody got home. And when they did, they had a pot of goulash waiting on them, and it was so delicious. This is one of our favorite meals. Did you notice that I made this whole meal from start to finish in one pot? Everyone, I'm home from work, and so I'm going to just get into mom mode. Not that I'm not a mom when I'm at work too, but it's time to make dinner, so we're going to get busy and put some dinner together using some of the ingredients that I meal prepped yesterday. So I am just grabbing up my ingredients that I put together in this bag. I have my cooked taco meat, my cheese, my lettuce, peppers and onions, and that tomato right there on top. And then I'm just going to use the store-bought pizza crust, and we're going to make taco pizza. Just going to keep it easy. I'm just going to melt down about a tablespoon of margarine. And I am just going to pour in a can of pinto beans with the liquid and everything, because by the time these cook down, they will be nice and thick. And I'm going to season them with some garlic, onion powder, some salt and pepper, and some cumin. And then once they get all seasoned up and thicken up, then I'll just mash them. First, I opened up this store-bought pizza crust and whacked it on the counter a few times and messed around with it until I got it fully opened. And then I just spread it out on a cookie sheet or pizza pan, sorry, that I had sprayed with nonstick spray. And then I just kind of pressed that crust into the pan and just worked with it until I got it to take the shape and stay there. They do get kind of squiggly on you. For this taco pizza, I am using the refried beans that I am making in the frying pan as the base. I know in some recipes they use cheese as the base or queso, so many other options, but we wanted to use refried beans, and it would have been easier to use a can of already pre-made refried beans, but I just find that I like these better. And so the next step would be to add our seasoned ground beef on top of the beans. So that is my second layer going on right now. And having some taco meat cooked up and ready in your fridge is always a good idea, in my opinion. It just comes in so handy. And then next I just added some cheese. And I'm just using what I had on hand, which was some sharp cheddar cheese, but of course any cheese is acceptable. Then once I get all that cheese spread around, I'm going to add those peppers, onions, and, well, it's just peppers and onions, but we have a red bell pepper and a green bell pepper. And I had prepped these the day before as well. And so they were already chopped up and ready to go. And then because we like spicy, I'm adding some crushed red pepper. And I baked it into the oven until it was golden brown. And then to top it off, we just added some shredded lettuce. I bought already shredded lettuce from the store. So again, just keeping it super simple and easy. I did slice up my little Roma tomato so that I could add that on top as well. And I just really love the combination of melty, cheesy, ooey gooey pizza with the fresh toppings, the crunchy lettuce, and the cold tomatoes. I just think that it just tastes so good. So we are also adding some black olives to ours. Now, of course, you would just add anything that you like. And so I had an avocado, but I would not put that on here because my family would freak out. Nobody in my house eats avocado except for me. So I will be having that on the side. And here is what our finished taco pizza looked like. It was so good. That crust was nice and golden, but also soft. And everybody just loved this dinner. I have some Baja sauce from Taco Bell that I was dipping mine in. I do have some hot sauce and some sour cream on top of mine. Yeah, I have a whole lot going on at this party. And with all of the prep work done ahead of time, it was so easy. On Tuesday, I had to work, and Bill and the boys had one of the freezer meals that I had made on Sunday. But here I am just showing you really quickly how that freezer meal came together. But of course, there was no prep needed on Tuesday when he actually made this meal. I just started off by adding my veggies, my cream of mushroom and cream of chicken soup. I added some cheese, some ground beef that is cooked and drained, and then mixed that all together. I used some 4 cheese instant mashed potatoes as the topping, and of course topped it with some more cheese. Packaged it all up nice and pretty, put it in the freezer so that all he had to do on this day was pull it out of the freezer, put it on a cookie sheet, and then put it in the oven until it was reheated. And he said that this was absolutely delicious. This is one of his favorite meals, and so he was really happy to see that I had made him one of his favorite meals without even being in the house on this day. And this freezer meal did make plenty of leftovers. So even though I wasn't home for dinner on this night, I was able to have some leftovers the next day. Hello, it's been a busy day. I didn't have to work today, but I did have a busy day running around with doctor's appointments and lab work that needed to be done. There were some x-rays. You know what? don't ever get old. So anyway, I'm home and I'm gonna get some dinner started. It's going on 3 o'clock. And I have had one of my freezer meals pulled out of the freezer for the last couple hours. And so I'm getting ready to pop it in the oven. All I'm gonna do is whip up some meatballs that I already prepped on Sunday. And then I'm going to boil up a pan of water and make some pasta to go with it. And then we'll see what else happens. That's what's for dinner today. Well, never mind that I wrote Marina meatballs on this meal. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But all I did on this day was heat up those meatballs and then boil up some spaghetti noodles, timing it toward the end of the cook time for those meatballs. This is what the meatballs look like coming out. I am just going to add some olive oil to my pan after I drained the noodles. I added them back in and then just swished them around to give them a good coating. I sprinkled on some grated Parmesan cheese and some black pepper and just got that all mixed in. Normally, I just mix our meat sauce in with our noodles, but since we were going to have our meatballs on top of these noodles, I wanted to make sure they were nice and flavorful. And I just sprinkled on the remaining container of Parmesan cheese on top of these noodles and then just let it sit and melt. I just cut into one of the center meatballs just to check for doneness, and that's it. This was dinner on this night, and they were so tasty. On Thursday, I wanted breakfast for dinner, and so I got out a package of sausage and just pattied it up for the kids. But for myself and Bill, I am making a frittata. I just crumbled up some sausage into one of my smaller size cast iron skillets. And a frittata is kind of like an egg bake or an oven omelet where you're just cooking everything up in one pan and you're going to get it started on the stovetop and then finish it up in the oven. So I was just working on getting all of that sausage cooked up and crumbled into small pieces. And then I'm adding some frozen spinach straight from the bag into the pan. I just arranged it in the pan so that that spinach was all around and in a good spot so that when it thawed out and that water from the spinach started to evaporate, I could mix it in and get it kind of browned up as well. Or sauteed is probably the correct word. I love spinach, eggs, and cheese, scrambled or mixed together in any way. So next I'm bringing the eggs into the pan, and I just added some milk to some eggs and whisked them together and then poured them in. And this pan is really hot. It's already cooking those eggs. I also added my salt and pepper at this time. And when you're making a frittata, you can add pretty much anything you want to, but I just wanted to keep it pretty simple with some basic ingredients. I just moved those eggs around a little bit just to help get some of the liquidy part of the eggs moved around and get that cooking process going. And eventually enough of the eggs will be cooked on the bottom part of the frittata that it'll be time to move the whole pan into the oven and finish off the top. Now, if you wanted, you could just make scrambled eggs and it would taste just as good. But I wanted to go that extra step and just make it kind of pie-like. I just topped it with some shredded sharp cheddar cheese. And then I'm going to put it in the oven to finish cooking. And I added lots of cheese to this. I was looking forward to that crispy, crunchy, golden, baked cheesy top when it came out of the oven. And here I am cutting into it to dish it up. And I am one of those people that could eat breakfast for dinner, breakfast for lunch, and breakfast for breakfast. I just love breakfast food. This frittata came out of the pan beautifully. I was a little worried when I was cooking it on the stovetop because it felt like it was sticking, but it released all on its own perfectly. And so I was really happy about that. And this was so delicious. It was such a comforting dinner, and it only took a few minutes to make. But the boys ended up having cheesy scrambled eggs with their sausage patties and some toast to go along with it. On Friday night, I just was not in the mood for a one-pot meal, so I grabbed a couple of bags of boneless chicken wings out of the freezer and popped them in the oven, and then I got to work cooking up some shredded cabbage as well as some sliced up white mushrooms. Once those mushrooms were cooked down some, I added some Worcestershire sauce. I had some of the minute quinoa in my pantry, so I just microwaved that for myself. And then some of these egg rolls I found in the freezer, I just popped those in the oven as well. And when those chicken wings were done, I just kind of flipped them around here and there just to make sure they were nice and brown on every side. And then I just started adding the sweet chili sauce that came with this kit right on top of the chicken. There were like 4 packets to open and squeeze on top because I used 2 bags. I just gave them a couple of turns to make sure that they were coated on all sides, and then popped them back into the oven to finish cooking. I really wasn't in the mood for cooking, even though I had some freezer meals prepared in my fridge. I just wasn't feeling those either. So this was what we came up with for dinner. I had some quinoa in my bowl, and I just put a couple pieces of the sweet chili boneless chicken wings right in there with them, along with one of those egg rolls. And then I just laid in some of that fried cabbage as well as some of those mushrooms that were just kind of seasoned with some olive oil, some garlic and salt, as well as a Worcestershire sauce. And this was a really quick and simple Friday night meal. Saturday was another freezer prepped meal, and to put this freezer meal together, I had only a few steps to get it going. I mixed up some soups, and I added some hash browns, some frozen broccoli, and then some leftover ham that was in the freezer. And then once I got it all mixed together, I just topped it with some cheese. And this meal was ready to go on Saturday when I was super tired. We had the grandkids over on Friday to spend the night, just 3 of them this time, but still. So I had put that freezer meal in the oven on 375 for an hour. And when the hour mark was up, I just took it out, put some butter on it, and then popped it back in on 400 for about 15 more minutes. And then it was done. I just had some buttery crackers on the side. This freezer meal was another hit. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate you showing up to see what my family had for dinner this week. See you next time. Bye for now.